Hi there, I'm Daz, and in this video I'm going to show you how to acquire the vampire follower, Malgoth the Betrayer, which is available with the Vampire Knights mod. So right now I'm standing outside what is described as a micro dungeon. On Solstheim it is represented there by a standing stone symbol, and it's very close to Whiteridge Barrow. So I'll head in there now. First I need to raise my very overpowered bound sword. There is going to be a mortuary guardian in there that needs to be dealt with. He's quite a tough customer ordinarily, but he's not going to be a problem for me with this OP sword. Now he's been dealt with, we can check out the remains and collect Malgoth's heart. Now we have a couple of options for what we can do with this. You'll notice there are two statues in this room. To obtain the vampire follower, we need to activate the Mercy of Azura and collect the Art of the Forgiven. Before I leave this place I will briefly mention the second option, but I'll leave that for the time being. So we now have access to the door marked Clemency. Very dark in here. We have the usual loot that you'd expect to find in any ruin. We have a strong box there, several potions of blood, but the real prize is asleep in this coffin, and there we have Malgoth the Betrayer. And as you can see, we have the follower option.
Let's not waste any time. Let's get going.
So I'll go to the trade option just to show you that he has a unique book in his possession, and if I read this you'll see that it acts as an alteration skill book. I'll leave that in his inventory.
Lead on,
and let's get out of here. So if you don't require a vampire follower and you want to take the second option, you can activate Judgment of Lerua, I hope I'm pronouncing that approaching correctly, which will give you access to this doorway marked Judgment, and inside there is an hostile version of Malgoth the Betrayer, and if you manage to overcome him you can take his Vampire Lord armour, and he also has an enchanted sword, and there are several unique skill books in that room also. So my advice to any new players would be to make a save before you enter here, play out both options and then see which one is gonna most suit the current character that you're playing with. So I'll just leave this area now, and I'll just mention a couple of other points before I finish the video regarding some observations I've made travelling with Malgoth for a brief amount of time. So he uses a standard vampire attacks, he uses a lot of frost, raise undead. I've not seen him revert to Vampire Lord form, but he does use some of what I think are Vampire Lord spells. He uses the Night Cloak, I think it's called, where he's surrounded by bats that seem to attack his melee enemies. So that's quite useful. What else? Yeah, when I tried to dismiss him, he gave me the usual response that he was going to return home. He actually never did return home. He just actually stayed in the same location. I fast travelled away and returned 24 hours later and he was still in the same location. So you need to bear that in mind if you're going to use him as a long-term follower. It might be best to dismiss him back home so you can always find him again. I also tested him with the Boethius Calling quest, and he is a suitable sacrifice, which I was quite surprised at actually. I was expecting him not to be useful for that quest, but there you are. So I hope the video has been informative, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll leave it there. Bye bye.